This is gonna be a big baby. I'm gonna be big as hell throughout this pregnancy because there's no way that I should be showing at week 9. Back to my channel. If you are new here, welcome. My name is Brittany and we do all things beauty, hair, lifestyle, and we are sprinkling in some pregnancy updates here on my channel. So if you're into that sort of content, please do me a favor and go ahead and subscribe and join the family. So I previously uploaded an announcement saying that I was pregnant and how we found out, and then I did my 4, 5, and 6 week update, and for this week we'll be doing 7, 8, and 9, just kind of going through the symptoms and everything that I've been experiencing so far throughout this pregnancy, because I have had a lot of symptoms. So if you have not caught any of those videos, I suggest you go watch those first, because it's just going to tail end off of those, and I'll be sure to either link them here or to leave them in the description box. So my last update, we left off at week 6, and I was kind of letting you guys know that I was experiencing some extreme nausea and extreme fatigue and tiredness. So starting out, jumping right into it with week 7, the nausea intensified and it only continued throughout week 7. I at this point have had an extreme food aversion. Literally, I'm still not able to stomach anything other than fruit and water. Fruit and water were the only 2 things that I can really stomach. And very particularly throughout week 7, it was anything that had any sugars in it. Like, I'm talking anything that has sugar in it, any sweets or anything extremely savory, literally just intensified and made my nausea so much worse. The only thing that really kind of curbed that nausea was acidic fruits, salty crackers. Anything that was just kind of acidic and salty is the only thing that I can take. Sweet and savory was a no-go. I just literally could not even take the smell, let alone the taste, and it just made my stomach just so, I just can't, the nausea was just, it was just not okay. It was just not okay. I literally felt like I didn't eat for like 4 weeks straight because I just couldn't stomach anything other than fruit and water. So fruit and water became my best friend. Speaking of water, extreme thirst kicked in at week 7. I'm someone who I never really have been a water drinker. I know that sounds strange, but I was someone, I just hated drinking water. I don't know why. I don't know what I had against water, but I could literally go days and not have a glass of water. Like, I know you're supposed to do what, a glass a day. I could go days, literally days, without having a drink of water, and I kind of just justified it as, oh, you know, I drink my cup of coffee that has water in it. Oh, I eat a lot of fruits. Fruits are only like, fruits are like 70-90% water. It was ridiculous. And my partner Nate, he would always try to, like, just on my regular day-to-day life, would just like try to sneak me glasses of water. I just had to drink water. Week 7, I literally craved water, and not just any water. I'm talking, it had to be ice cold. I needed ice cold water out of our Brita in the fridge with ice in it, inside of my Yeti, chilling. I actually have my Yeti right here because the thirst for water has not let up yet. I literally could not get enough water. I would have Nate fill up this Yeti like 5, 6, 7 times a day because I literally would be so unbelievably thirsty, and absolutely nothing quenched my thirst. Nothing. I just couldn't get enough. Like, it was the strangest thing. Like, I love water. I never thought I would say that, but I cannot get enough water. So extreme thirst kicked in at week 7, and it has just continued throughout this pregnancy. So I'm pretty sure that is normal. You know, your body is going through a lot of changes. You got to nourish yourself and you're growing in life. So ladies, if you're one of those people that are worried about, you know, your water intake prior to pregnancy, your body will correct itself and you will start craving water. If you're anything like me, I was craving water like nobody's business. At this point, I still have an extreme aversion to coffee. I was so worried about giving up coffee once I found out that I was pregnant, because I am someone who loves coffee. And it's not so much for the caffeine or for the boost. I just love the taste of it. I can drink a cup of coffee and go right to bed. in the morning, I don't need it to kind of get my day started or because I'm feeling groggy or cranky or anything like that. I just absolutely love the taste of coffee, and it just feels right. You wake up, put on a cup of coffee. I would have like 2 cups of coffee by noon. After that, I'm done. If I'm in the late evening, if I feel like having like a little dessert, I would love to have like a dessert and coffee before I go to bed. But I had no taste, no desire for coffee. Like the thought of it just turned me off. So this continued throughout week 7, like no coffee, just complete aversion to all things coffee. One thing I mentioned in my previous update was that I experienced extreme bloating and extreme gas. By week 7, the bloating and the gas started to subside. Like it was still there. I was still gassy. I was still burping a lot, but it wasn't so intense as it was in the first few weeks of my pregnancy. It started to sort of let up and ease up a bit at this point. I also talked about cramping in my previous update. By week 7, that was completely gone as well. So week 7, the main symptoms that I had was extreme thirst. I was still extremely tired, extremely fatigued, still glued to my bed at this point. I still had an aversion to all foods, and I was only able to stomach salty and acidic foods. That was the only thing that really just kind of curbed the nausea and made my stomach feel okay. So week 7 wasn't as bad as, previous weeks, but I still was having that food aversion, which was the most annoying symptom because I love to eat. And the fact that I literally couldn't eat anything was driving me bananas. So by week 7, I had my first doctor's visit, just confirming that I was indeed pregnant and that I was expecting, which was super, super exciting. And then they set up my ultrasound visit for week 8, which we're gonna get into. So week 8 was much like week 7. I wouldn't say I got there was like week 8 was the first week where I would say no real new symptoms kind of popped up. Before that, every week, every other day, it was something new, and I was just trying to play catch up, and just like my body was just kind of like all over the place and trying to get used to just being pregnant and not knowing what to expect. I would say week 8 was the first week that kind of seemed like it kind of flattened out, like I had reached a peak and I was just kind of riding it there. At that point, like my body wasn't feeling like it was all over the place, which I very much so appreciated. And with week 8 came my first ultrasound, which was so exciting. I'm probably gonna put some pictures here on the screen for my first ultrasound, because prior to that, being that my body had been going so crazy and experiencing so much, it was comforting in knowing that, okay, my body is going through all this because I am pregnant, but a lot of the symptoms caused me concern that there was something going wrong with my pregnancy, specifically the cramping. And then I experienced so much of that, and early on, it just caused me constant concern. Anxiety and stress, I don't know if you consider that a symptom, but that was something that just kind of stuck with me for weeks in the beginning of my pregnancy. I was just always worried. And up until that 8-week ultrasound, I was just kind of trying not to get even though I was excited, I wouldn't allow myself to get too excited because I was just nervous that once I got to that 8-week ultrasound that I wouldn't hear heartbeat. And I know a lot of first-time moms experience that. Or if there's ever been a mom who's experienced a miscarriage, you probably experienced that. Like you kind of just feel like you're just constantly holding your breath, even though, I've tested a couple times and it says pregnant. My body is experiencing these symptoms, so I know that I'm pregnant. It was just something, I was just anxious for weeks on end until I found out that until that first ultrasound. And then when week 8 came and I had that first ultrasound and I was able to see the baby's little heart flicker, like, oh my gosh, like after that 8-week ultrasound, like a lot of the stress and the anxiety just kind of went out the window. It was still slightly there just because, the first trimester, anything can go wrong, but it brought me so much comfort and relief that I was able to A, see a little fetus on the screen, and B, see that little heart flicker. And that was the most exciting thing that happened for weeks, because I was feeling so bad. Again, my body was going through so many changes. I was having so many symptoms that by the time that 8-week ultrasound came, I was just like, oh, I can finally breathe a sigh of relief. So week 8 didn't bring on any really new crazy symptoms, but it really did kind of relieve that stress and that anxiety, knowing that I'm really pregnant. Like, it's like when you finally see the fetus on the ultrasound, you're like, okay, this is really happening. Before, again, it's like, you know, but it's like, you know it, but you can't believe it, and you're scared and you're nervous and you're anxious. But with an 8-week ultrasound, sigh of relief. So along with just kind of relieving some symptoms, the bloating has subsided quite a bit. The food aversion is still there, but it's not as bad. At this point, at week 8, I've compiled a list of foods that I like and that my body can take and that don't make me sick. So I have about a good solid 5 foods or 5 little small meals. I found that I couldn't sit down and have like a full meal. I had to just snack and graze throughout the day to kind of keep myself afloat, because I like literally any little thing will upset my stomach, and it's like it was like I was afraid to eat because I didn't know what was going to trigger the nausea. The nausea was so bad, and any relief that I got, I tried to hold on to that as long as I can, and I was afraid to try anything because, again, I was like, oh, this is going to throw my stomach off. I'm going to be nauseous for the next 3 days. So by week 8, I had compiled a small list of things that actually don't just make me just want to vomit everywhere. But by this time, I'm still no vomiting. So no morning sickness per se, because again, it wasn't like I wake up in the morning and I'm vomiting or I feel sick. It was just all day nausea for weeks, and that didn't let up with week 8. So going into week 9, I was just riding the high of week 8, having just, you know, had my first ultrasound and just being super excited. My doctor's visit, everything went great. Of course, during that visit, they take so much blood and run so many tests, and I did that by the end of week 8. So by the time week 9 came, like, a lot of my tests had come back. Everything looked good. I looked healthy. I was in great shape for, you know, a nice pregnancy. So with week 9 came a lot of relief. At that point, the bloating and the gas had subsided. My appetite picked back up, and it picked up significantly. I was still extremely tired, but I was more than anything happy to have my appetite back. At this point, I was trying easing back into the things that I liked that I hadn't had a taste for the past couple weeks. I tried coffee one day. It was just okay, but it just didn't really do it for me. I was like, I just didn't really have a taste for it. I started back trying meats because I hadn't had like a good solid meal with meat in it for weeks, because I just couldn't stand the smell of cooked meat. So I started back chicken, and I stepped back into salmon a little bit, and my appetite picked back up significantly for week 9. So I didn't have any new symptoms come week 9. A lot of it was just correcting a lot of the symptoms that had been happening from the prior week. So that was super exciting. And one thing that was strange about week 9 is that I actually started showing, like I visually looked pregnant at week 9, which was so strange to me and my partner, because I'm very slim, very petite, and I wasn't expecting to show until like 20 weeks. You see some people are like 20 weeks, 22 weeks, and their stomach is like, pregnant where? I actually started having like a little pouch. I'm probably going to try to find like an old picture, because I didn't take many pictures back then, but I'm probably going to find like an old picture that I can insert here on the screen. But week 9, I actually started looking pregnant. I'm like, okay, is it just the bloating that's kind of coming back, or am I really looking pregnant here? Because the baby is the size of like a pea at that point, maybe a bean, I don't know, but the baby isn't the biggest anything for me to be showing at week 9. But I would look down, and there was definitely like a belly there, and I would ask my partner, like, you see that? Like, I'm not like crazy, and like, you know, you're thinking you're pregnant, and of course you're excited, so you think that you're seeing stuff that's not there. But I'm like, no, there's definitely a belly here. There's like something happening. So yeah, week 9, I actually started showing, surprisingly. I'm like, okay, this is gonna be a big baby. I'm gonna be big as hell throughout this pregnancy, because there's no way that I should be showing at week 9. But week 9 is when I actually started showing, and I wish I would have done more filming and taken more pictures back then. But again, I was just so tired. I couldn't have no energy for anything, that I didn't take any real picture. I probably have one solid picture I took just to kind of say, okay, I'm not tripping. This is a belly here, right? So I'll be sure to insert that. So that was another surprise for me for week 9, was that my belly actually started like popping out, and you can actually see that I was expecting. I looked like I was a good 4 months pregnant at week 9, which I just wasn't expecting that. But it just brought me so much joy, because I'm like, okay, this thing is really happening, because I wasn't expecting to show 4 weeks. So all in all, at this point in my pregnancy, I'm feeling better. The only thing that I would say for week 7, 8, and 9 that was a real just kind of bummer was the extreme fatigue and tiredness. I think the sun just changed, so I'm sorry if my light just got weird. So the extreme fatigue and tiredness was 100% there. And in the beginning, I still had the food aversion, but by the end of that week 9, my appetite had picked back up. The bloating had started subsiding, and I started to feel like I was getting again to that even point where before that I was just going up and up and up and up, symptoms all over the place, could not keep up. At this point, I'm like, all right, I'm starting to kind of even out, and my body's getting used to all the changes in what's going on. So week 7, 8, and 9 were a lot better than the previous. Yeah, so that was the update for week 7, 8, and 9. I just made any changes week 4, 5, and 6. But again, just riding the wave. So I hope that you guys are enjoying this type of content. Again, if you are, please do not forget to jump in the comments and let me know. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel. Also, make sure you hit that bell notification so you be notified every time I upload. So yeah, I will see you guys at the next pregnancy update. Bye.